Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of I Want to Know About It, where I, Noah, want to know about it. On today's episode, me and my friend Anselm talk about the tragic death of Ozzy Osbourne, his impact in the rock and metal scene, as well as examining the idea of can we separate the art from the artist. If you enjoy what you're listening to, there's nothing to subscribe to. I don't know. Kiss a friend, tell an enemy you love them. I can't tell you what to do. I'm not your parent. Or am I? No, I'm not paying that back child support. See you in a minute. Bye. Hello, and welcome to the first and last episode of I Want to Know About It, where I, Noah Garcia, want to know about it. Today, my first and last guest is my ex-husband, Anselm. Hi, Anselm.
Wow. First and last?
Yeah.
And we're not gonna even do an episode on the marriage? On the divorce?
It's too raw.
Oh,
It's
man,
just,
that's
we're like the marriage story, but wait, are you Adam Driver or am I Scarlett Johansson? Which one is which?
I don't know. I never watched that movie.
I didn't watch it either. I just know it through its cultural relevance.
No, I just know about it because my ex brought it up while we were breaking up too.
Yeah, it was me.
I saw this movie and it's like it was really good, and I'm just like, it's about this couple who's divorcing, and I'm like, shut up. What? No, I don't want to hear this.
Also, why are you bringing a pop culture reference into our breakup? What's up with that?
I know, right?
But hello, Anselm. Thank you for talking to me. Just like say we're doing an introduction at a party. How would you introduce yourself?
It depends on the party. I just introduced myself as Anselm.
It's like
do you want like fun facts? Or do you like want like
okay? We're at a cool party for a friend you kind of know, but you're not entirely comfortable with, and people come up to you and they're just like, "Hey, what's your name? What do you do? What are you about?"
Oh, I gotcha. What do I? Okay, so yeah. Besides my name being very, very German, and I've yet to meet a person with my name. I am a geologist. I worked in the private sector and the public sector. Originally grew up in Southern California and stayed mostly in Southern California, but I've lived throughout. I'm an appreciator and a lover of music, diverse amounts of music, but my primary loves are hip hop, but also rock and roll. And I try to play guitar once in a while, and I used to be better at it, and I want to get back into it. So, yeah, that's kind of a bit about me. Very outdoorsy, very creative, very silly. Yeah, that's the guy.
You know, you have been a self-proclaimed silly Billy. And I wouldn't deny that. But I brought you on today, not only as my first and last guest, but also because a thing that kind of it feels like not a topic, but sort of a topic that I want to discuss with you because you are a big fan of like rock, psychedelic rock, alternative rock, like hair metal. Like I feel like you could give me like an essay on anything pertaining to those topics. Recently, the death of Ozzy Osbourne just happened today, and that kind of prompted me to kind of realized that when it comes to certain genres of music, I'm definitely a tourist. I know nothing about it. Like, there's a couple bands that I like. Yeah, no, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
There's a couple bands of I think he's like late, Black Sabbath was like late 70s, 80s, right?
So Black Sabbath officially started or at least the first album was released in 1970, but I believe they started in 1969.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
But no, like their full like blossoming into like the metal scene was in the mid to late 70s. So to say that is totally agreeable. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I know a couple bands from that era, like Queen. I think like the Ramones, AC/DC, Kiss, the Eagles. My old gym partner used to get mad at me because I would always play Hotel California, and he was like, "If you play Hotel California one more time, I will smash your head in with this barbell." And I was just like, "Fuck you! I play dad rock when I'm at the gym. Leave me alone."
Hotel California. That, here's another essay topic for me to write. Is like in his like sub. you can make a playlist of like classic rock songs that
Mhm.
are incredibly good, but they're way too overplayed. And so now they just annoy everybody, right?
Mhm.
Like Hotel California, Stairway to Heaven, like
Mhm.
those are like there you can write a whole essay of like how great these songs are and in moderation, really they're great, but the fact that you hear them on the radio daily, or you can hear it in like a local 7-Eleven or like Costco, like it's no. Um I'm good. I need a bit of distance once in a while from the good stuff. For other good stuff, you know?
Yeah, they're definitely like the mainstream rock hits that are always gonna be in the zeitgeist in their own way. Like the
Yeah.
cultural zeitgeist, so it's just they're always on play. But no, Hotel California is like top 10 most overplayed stuff. But
Mhm.
Ozzy Osbourne, I thought it would be very interesting because we were talking about just the guy, and I realized I don't really know much about him or Black Sabbath. The only thing I know about Ozzy Osbourne is two things. One, there was a Simpsons clip where the Simpsons were doing a parody of them being singers.
Mhm.
And he was like at the award show, he's like, and the winner for best album of the year is the Simpsons Christmas classics, and all the Simpsons are dancing and like cheering, and he takes the Grammy and he bites the head off the Grammy, and the Grammy's bleeding, which is like the
Mm,
joke about the bat. And then there's a really
yeah.
dumb reference in Family Guy when he's just like, "Oh, we're gonna make you the censors come to Family Guy and they want to make it family friendly and say, ah, we're gonna get you just like we got Ozzy Osbourne." And he's in a crowd. He's like, "I'm going to eat a sandwich now," and then he eats a sandwich for a little bit. He says, "I'm going to finish it later," like to show
Mhm.
how like chaste he's become. And those are
Mm,
two dumb jokes that have nothing to do with anything, but they're all I know of Ozzy Osbourne. So I
yeah.
thought I could talk to you since you're such like a musician. I know a couple musicians, but you're the first one that came to mind on this. Uh,
Mhm.
what Ozzy Osbourne, his works and impact on the rock and metal scene, and how that's kind of uh gone out throughout his time, but throughout more like the modern era.
Yeah. I mean, it's not an understatement to say, sorry for the double negative there. To say Ozzy's anything short of a legend is
Mhm.
incorrect. He really is a pioneer of his time, as a musician, as a singer, as a composer, as an artist. Um, he he carries a very interesting aura to him when it comes to pop culture and history because naturally him well let me back up for a second and kind of go into some of it.
Mhm.
Black Sabbath's early history. So their first album to come out in 1970 was called simply Black Sabbath.
Mhm.
It's just the namesake of the band to the album's name, and the first song is titled Black Sabbath. Um, and the song, for the time is very dark. I mean, by the up and coming of like radio, pop music being widespread, the early like the genesis and like the um, not the infancy, but past that, kind of like in its toddler stage of like mass music being broadcasted to so many audiences worldwide. So here comes this band from Britain. So again, the within the British invasion of U.S., British rock and pop music coming into the United States, and then also infiltrating Europe, being the main ears. This band comes out of nowhere, and just starts playing incredibly heavy demonic style music, and it kind of creates like it kind of sparks in many ways the goth culture,
Mhm.
a lot of the deep underground counterculture with like with a lot of like religious and kind of religious iconographies and kind of playing into the creative ideas of like Satanism and stuff like this. And so like Led Zeppelin also
Mhm.
is famously known to have, like, Jimmy Page was known to be very fascinated by this.
I mean, the whole
um
satanic panic of like the 80s and 90s
Correct,
kind
yeah, the
of.
Satanic Panic, and that kind of, because like the thing is like greatness sees greatness, right? Like Ozzy
Mhm.
Osbourne and David Bowie would see each other as like colleagues, as at least from what I can
Contemporaries for
tell.
sure.
Contemporaries, yeah, but they would respect
Mhm.
each other's crafts, right? And they're completely different, but like, both of them were kind of like stuck into this for for different reasons. But um, and also on top of that too, the story goes is that and it's a little bit I'm not giving it full justice, but Black Sabbath is kind of
Mhm.
came out of an accident because the band originally was more focused again on like traditional pop and also jazz, and so like kind of like jazz rock in a sense.
Mhm.
But the guitar player, I don't know if you know this, the guitar player Tony Iommi, phenomenal guitar player too. He was either a machinist, he worked in the trades. He was like a machinist or a carpenter, I think, and he
Mhm.
chopped off the tips of his fingers. Um,
Shit.
Tony Iommi famously for the first album, that first album, he was playing with homey prosthetic fingertips, and that's what he was known for. And so the running lore was is that since Tony was kind of like being, at least he was trained in jazz guitar, which requires a lot of like complex shapes with your fingers. Like you're not doing simple bar chords or power chords. You're definitely doing like sevens, 7 chords, 9 chords, with sustains, with diminished stuff. Like the music theory is
Mhm.
it's too intense for like a simple player like myself. But
Don't discredit you, I'll
so
beat the shit out of you.
nah.
Don't talk shit about my
Um,
friend, I'll beat you up.
oh, fair enough. Thank you. But yeah, so the story goes is that because his fingers were kind of at a handicap, they decided to play simpler, down-tuned music. Hence why they're really heavy. The boom, like when
Mhm.
they're playing in like Tony plays in like I think drop D tuning and D standard tunings, like a whole step down, and that's generally like the golden rule of metal is that when you play metal, most metal bands, occasionally some will break this rule for good reason. It's not like a commandment or anything, but almost all metal bands will play in a lower tuning. So D standard, C standard compared to E standard. So naturally, your lower notes are incredibly low. You can get really, especially like music theory, like D minor and C minor are known to be incredibly sad scales and incredibly sad chord progressions. So you can make some incredibly intense, emotional, like
Mhm.
heavy, bassy riffs that would be really good for a lot of aspects of metal. And a lot of that originated from again like Black Sabbath and Tony Iommi and
Mhm.
Ozzy's um, sound coming from this idea of just lowering the tuning, playing really simple and heavy chords, and playing it as loud as possible, and created some of the most enthralling music of its time,
Mhm.
and created this really unique stepping stool for Black Sabbath to grow as a band in that era of music.
And I think that's just really interesting because there are these, like, nexus individuals who really, through their own creativity, kind of almost shift the direction a certain genre is maybe not in a new direction, but towards the same path, but even faster. So I just
Yeah.
think him he was a guitarist, right?
Ozzy was a singer. I
Was
think
he a
he played
singer? I feel like I played
Ozzy was a
guitar.
singer, but I think he played guitar, but if he did, it was kind of
Mhm.
like for instance, like Mick Jagger, um, you know, everyone knows him as the singer of the Rolling
Mhm.
Stones, but
I
he could
got the
pick up a
moves like
guitar and play.
Jagger, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He got the moves like Jagger, and he's not moving with a guitar unusually.
Yeah.
But he will pick up the guitar. Ozzy
Mhm.
is primarily a vocalist.
Mhm.
Um, Tony Iommi was from what I remember correctly, Sabbath was a 4 piece.
Mhm.
And then when Ozzy left and he did his little solo career, I think he was also in a 4 or 5. For rock lingo, um, a 4 piece means just like a 4-person band, and
Mhm.
then it's just like number and piece meaning bodies. So like a 3 piece would be like guitar, bass, drummer.
Mhm.
4 piece would be like two guitars, a bass, and a drummer, or a singer, bass, and guitars. You get the picture, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Ozzy was primarily a singer, and I think it's like what also like helped enhance his fame and also put um his image on the zeitgeist of rock and roll. Actually, up until now is the fact that he also was incredibly good. He had an incredible range,
Mhm.
an incredible sustain. You hear this a lot. I mean, this is not Sabbath, but like in Crazy Train, which he wrote, there's some, and especially that's when his voice was not as fresh as it was more mature, but he's still hitting some very high pitched um, sustained notes that takes a very well trained singer to handle. And this is during a time of minimal auto tune, right? Like you could, I think you were able to make some adjustments through analog systems or the early digital systems they used to record. I'm not a recording artist, so I wouldn't know, but how to do that. But
Mhm.
from what I understand, there were ways to like sharpen or to clean or to kind of modify, tones to make it sound like it's better in tune compared to like modern auto tune, where you can take any note I'm saying right now and then put it at B flat or F sharp or G or in any scale like and put like different wave. It's insane what you can do. And so Ozzy was good in that sense. Like he like his heyday when you see him live, he has incredible range and that sustain and it adds so well to the music that they're playing.
Mhm. And I think that all just the way it's structured musically fits not only with like that feeling like melancholy, but it really fit the lyrics. Because a lot of these songs, I know were very like I don't even know how to describe the lyrics. They're just they're stamped with not like I don't know if I'd call it like emotion, but it's almost like a declaration,
Mhm.
which I feel like a lot of rock is. But
Yeah,
especially that every, I feel like every century is counterculture to its previous one. So like the 70s to the 80s was very much of that
yeah,
counterculture to the 70s. So like that
mhm,
transition from that type of early 70s, mid 70s music into sort of the later 70s, 80s kind of hard rock was just it was so contemporary to the genre at the time
yeah,
of like these deeper emotional music with all these
mm.
bands and it really fits really well.
No, it does. I completely agree with you. Like, I mean, to add on to that too,
Mhm,
because like a lot of people would call like 1975 to maybe 1978 like the climax, the peak before like um rock kind of
mhm.
evolved into the 80s through synth, through hair metal, through shittier rock. To be honest, there's some bad music in the 80s. And honestly, that's like that sector of rock and roll
Yeah.
kind of led to like the death of rock and roll, which that's a whole nother conversation, hot
Death of
topic.
Death of rock and roll, the birth of grunge.
Yeah, yeah, and I have a hot take on it. I think rock and roll should have died, and I'm glad it did. Anyway, that aside, the
People are gonna kill us for
but
that.
was that?
They're gonna kill us for that. I have
Whatever,
a
bring
death sentence because of you.
no, it's fine. Free. Um, so with Ozzy's time and Black
Mhm,
Sabbath's time in the early to mid 70s, they were really in the upswing. That timing, along with their contemporaries from like again the Who, Led Zeppelin,
mhm.
Leonard Skinner, um, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Trying to think of like how is it? Can't he? Can't he did they did die on in the early 70s. Wings, do you know Wings? Paul McCartney's band after the Beatles. Wings.
No, I didn't know he had
Right.
a band after the Beatles.
Yeah, Live and Let Die. The
Oh.
James Bond song. That's not a Beatles song. That's Paul McCartney and Wings.
Can I be honest in this place?
Yes,
I've never seen a single James Bond movie.
that is totally fine.
I've never seen
I've
a
only
single
I've
one.
actually only seen a few. Like I haven't seen a lot either. So
Mhm,
you're not you're not you're not getting judgment or
mhm.
shade from me, dear sir.
I've seen Kingsman, I feel like that's enough.
That's pretty good.
That's like but, yeah, I wanna talk about his impact because we had an interesting conversation in our Dungeons& and Dragons group chat, like a brief one, because we have very brief conversations, but I do like talking about the idea of, there's this ideology of, uh, kill the author, kill your idols, in the sense that
Mm,
you kind of have to reject them I'm not explaining it properly. I'll look at it. I'll look up Death of the Authors right now, but it's sort of like you have to take down your heroes to really appreciate them.
Yeah, no, like you can't.
Mhm.
There's a lot of nuance, and so again, like don't meet your heroes. Like we like in the rock community, the famous one, like everyone loves John Lennon, for instance. Everyone
Mhm.
says, and for good reason. Like he's a phenomenal artist, very impactful. But that guy was troubled. Like
Yeah.
he had daddy issues. He was abusive. He was a womanizer. Like he like hit his son. Like yeah, he was not like
Mhm.
the best person. And so but yeah, it's like I feel like there is importance with like separating that. Even though I had a hot take about Ozzy this morning.
But, like, you can I think we were talking about it, you can celebrate someone for the good works and the impact they had in their scene, while also being critical of their character, because while you mentioned
Yeah,
earlier a lot of, like, Satanic Panic, like, darker emo culture, rock stuff, a lot of that was kind of just overzealous people blaming this
yeah,
music for, like, influencing, like, the Satanic Panic, like, "Oh, you made us do this through your music and your influence." While some of that
yeah,
is kind of explained away as just, like, silliness, some of it just is him as a person. I mean, didn't you can correct me, I brought you here to correct me. Didn't he get kicked out of Black Sabbath, right? Because he was just, like, an asshole or something? Or didn't he, like, get kicked
yeah.
out
No,
or something?
Ozzy is among he was a
Mhm,
playboy. He was a drug addict. And again, I think it gets playboys and drug addicts if they're
mhm,
not assholes. But yeah, Ozzy was always he was hard to work with in his later years. The fame definitely got to him.
mhm,
Um, there were it was he became very difficult to work with. He tried to do his own solo projects here and there, and some of them were successful. Like
yeah.
like
Like, the
the
one right
song, for
after he
instance,
left the
"Crazy."
first time, right? The one
Yeah, like or not this. I don't remember if it was the first time or the second time, but
Mhm,
um, it was basically the area where he was touring with Randy Rhoads.
mhm,
Oh, so like Blizzard of Oz, yeah, Blizzard. There we go. Um, so yeah, like that era of him touring, kind of like that solo era of his, like he was, like that helped, like it helped him pioneer again his career more, but it was because again he was able to fully dictate uh the setting. He was able to
mhm,
pull in people who really wanted to work with them. Like Randy Rhoads, he performed with multiple bands as far as I know. I think he played with Quiet Riot, if I'm not mistaken.
mhm,
And Ozzy was also known to perform because like most musicians will record with each other, right? Like there's like Frank Zappa and John Lennon have recorded with each other. Jimi Hendrix and John Lennon have recorded with, but like it's just like them getting together and fucking around, so to say, just like seeing what they can create. And maybe if it makes something, it makes something. If it doesn't, it doesn't, right? But
mhm,
it's just like it's them to collaborate. And Ozzy was in that same realm too, but like he performed a lot too.
mhm,
He's not necessarily unique in this, but there are a few musicians out there, and Ozzy's one of them, where he happens to be on stage with so many different people all the time. Um, like a lot of famous musicians could put like performed Ozzy Osbourne on their resume.
mhm,
Um, but yeah, he I think he from what I understand, he was just always very like outspoken. Uh, you know, main character syndrome, right? Like I'm on stage, everyone's looking at me, everyone is feasting in my majesty from my voice, my
mhm,
lyrics, my composure with a band behind me. And then of course again Ozzy was incredibly addicted to drugs, up
mhm.
and down the wazoo. Hence like you mentioned that you brought up the bat story,
Yeah.
right? Like
Well, he
like
thought it was rubber,
there's
didn't he? He's like, "I thought it was rubber, but it was real."
no supposedly the there's so many like the water's so muddy here, partially because
Uh-huh.
it's now like folklore. It's not like it's now kind of lost a lot of its authenticity, like of what actually happened. And the thing is too, there's multiple iterations of that story, right? Like one iteration is that he was at a producers meeting about to sign a record, and then he pulled it out of his jacket and bit it off.
Mhm,
Yeah, the rubber bat story is also one that it floats around. Another one is that he was on stage and he did it. Like
mhm.
some people say both events happened. I don't like it's just it's now kind of become like you have to do a bit more
Yeah.
digging. you'd have to be a pretty good like biographer of like Black Sabbath, which there are some pretty good biographers of musicians, but you'd have to
Mhm.
go and dig into to find out what actually happened. Um, but yeah, no, he was always just like coked out and stuff like this. Like there's footage of him like at his home. I like to call this the World of Warcraft years because like I forgot until this morning that he was actually like he was like in a bunch of advertising for World of Warcraft in like the
What?
2010s or like before that. Yeah, yeah, look it up. He's in a bunch of commercials. Prince of Darkness. Yeah.
Prince of Darkness is really into
Yeah.
fucking World of Warcraft.
Well, yeah.
Respect.
Yeah, and so yeah, I think they even had like he had there was a skin of him or something. Yeah, yeah, like he was always just like into weird shit and in a good way. But also like again
Mhm.
like his time with the partying and the drugs really took a toll on him mentally. Like there's like footage of him getting distracted because he was so like stoned or so like just out of it, like going into his kitchen and looking at the kitchen tile and just like poking and prodding at like the different tiles and the different textures on the tile. Um, yeah, like and like they had a reality TV show on him too,
Oh,
which I think
I
is
was
pretty
gonna
easy to go.
say you
Yeah,
mentioned drug use and that fucking with the band a lot. I mean, during the early 2000s, what was the show? It was like the Osbournes.
yeah, and it was a reality TV show
Mhm.
on about him and like his
On
family, his
MTV
immediate
back when
family.
MTV was a thing,
Yeah, yeah.
which is not,
From what I
which is
understand,
crazy.
by that point, he Black Sabbath was not touring anymore. I mean, like because they basically broke up in the '80s.
Mhm.
Um, and like they would reunite here and there. Because I think the band always remained kind of close.
Mhm.
Um, but they just did things sparsely and um had their own different careers. But
Which
like
is funny
yeah,
because you can know a person or like a celebrity or figurehead through so many different angles. I know that during the early 2000s when the reality TV show genre was really like starting to kick up. I mean, the Osbournes was like a big player in really helping solidify, reality TV as like a big thing. Like
yeah,
it's funny because it only ran for a couple seasons, but it was just so like people were just really into it. They really
yeah.
liked it. Just like this viewpoint of this famous rocker and his family and the dramas and just
Hmm.
it's funny because I feel like that aesthetic that some people that like the main culture really kind of judged him and his contemporaries for upon like a decade later that's something people look back on and be like, oh, that's cool. Like
Yeah,
if I met someone that was like the starter of Hot Topic and they were just like, oh yeah, I was a big like Black Sabbath fan, I'd be like, yeah, I see that, like of the early Hot Topic era.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
just it's interesting how this multifaceted person in many different cultures can be, different things to different people. Whether it is like this legendary vocalist who helped really push the genre to new heights, or like a guy who really cultivated this idea of like rock and alternative, and whether or not that is something that's good or bad or his personality. It's just looking at these people, and I don't mean this in like a macabre way, but like a post-mortem of a person's career is just like really fascinating because it could be examined from a million different viewpoints, you know?
yeah. No, definitely. Um, yeah, I mean, Ozzy definitely leaves like a controversial, you know,
Mhm.
controversial um, legacy. But I mean, overall, he is known to be, you know, he's gonna be remembered as a legend. I
Mhm.
mean, even to me, even though what I said about him earlier was more critical. Honestly, my vibe on my take on him, if we want to dive into that,
Tell
is also
me.
is kind of more projected at his wife Sharon, but but yeah,
Hey, yo,
like
what did
going back.
Sharon do?
Well, let's go back to
The
Ozzy real
fuck? What,
quick.
what, what
Like,
did Sharon? No, hold on.
oh,
Sharon's listening to this. I know she is.
okay. Well, Sharon sucks. Anyway, no, well, so or to go back into like how
Mhm.
you were saying, and this will lead into Sharon, I promise. Um,
Okay.
what to going back to Ozzy really quickly, like I think what will help him endure time in his second coming, right? Like, Vsauce did a really awesome video about this a long time ago. I forgot who he was quoting, but he was quoting, but the quote was like, "You die twice," and it's like when you physically die, and then paraphrased, when you physically die, and then when the last person says your name. And um, so that second kind of coming for the sense of like, okay, now Ozzy's going to be known by a name. The fact that again he could just be called Ozzy, and you know who we're talking
Mhm.
about. He personifies Ozzy. So because Ozzy Osbourne, he cultivated metal that now, like, again, every musician from like today is seeing the morning posts from so many different musicians across the spectrum of music all share their mourning because they all love Black Sabbath and or Ozzy's solo career stuff. And then so you had that point of fame from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s, being everyone's hero. And then the mid 2000s kind of being rejuvenated by pop culture, TV, video games, and stuff like this.
Mhm.
So he kind of has he's unique in the sense of like of this era of rock celebrity, right? Like no one remembers Robert Plant, right? Like, do you know who Robert Plant is?
I'm gonna pretend and say, yeah, I do.
Uh, do you know Robert Daltrey?
Yeah,
Do you
old
know?
Bob, love that guy.
Yeah, I mean, like exactly. But you know Ozzy Osbourne.
Yes,
You
I
know the band.
that's
You know Led Zeppelin and the Who, but you
uh-huh.
know who Ozzy is. You might even not know who Black Sabbath is. You might just know who Ozzy is. That's how iconic he is
I know
to
Crazy
so many different
Train.
people. Yeah.
You know,
So
it's
at
what I
the
referenced earlier is that, like, I know him from pop culture.
yeah
I know him from The Simpsons, from Family Guy, from, like, Keeping Up with
yeah
the Osbournes, like, I'm from
exactly
that
because
side.
he carried that like that media personification. So he's truly
Mhm.
unique in that sense. But and this is where it kind of connects to Sharon because w- when the Osbournes like reality TV series kind of started, and it was so successful because again like you had the parents, so to say, like the elder generations, the more adults, they grew up with Ozzy, so they want to see him on TV, so of course they're going to watch. And then it's reality TV, which is like brain rot fuel for the youth. No, I shouldn't say it like that, but like it's mass appeal. So
Yeah.
there's so many aspects of it that make it such a show that draws in so many people, even if no matter how much the drama or how silly it is. Just to see Ozzy and his family just go crazy. But what a lot of people tend to agree upon is that Sharon, like being in the media eye
Mhm.
from that TV show, specifically put Sharon in a position where she leveraged a lot of Ozzy's influence and power for her own. Very much like virtue signaling and um, just trying to raise a hocus about it, and then saying like it's because she's important because she's an Osborne. Um, and so and so like she's had like a lot of spouts in and out where people like. And granted, it's also fueled a lot of like public misogyny too, which is not nice either. Um, but there are a lot of points to be critical towards Sharon. And then, of course, recently, um, Sharon Osbourne
Mhm.
came out as like a super Zionist. She's very much
Eh.
in favor of Israel, um, Israel's ongoing occupation and Holocaust. That's going on. Not to go too depressing.
Mhm.
Uh, but and she's also and this is where again I feel hence why I have because like Sharon kind of tainted a lot of Ozzy's um at least current more up to date reputation.
'Cause she was his
And
manager for, like, a hot minute, wasn't she?
yeah, she was deeply involved in his life, very much controlling. Um, or maybe I shouldn't say it like that, but like she was definitely involved because of the popularity and influence that Ozzy had
Mhm.
on the media and how much people loved him. And so, but the thing is, and so, like again, this harkens back to like the days of Black Sabbath. Like you ask, especially in the anti-war veteran community, especially a lot of the veterans who are speaking out against the Holocaust in Palestine. they all say, like, War Pigs, the song War Pigs from Black Sabbath is, like, kind of like their awakening song because they relate to it directly. They are like, "Oh, we were brainwashed. We were brainwashed to kill. We were brainwashed to go into another country and cause
Mhm.
harm, from these animals who don't know better, who are psychopaths, who would gladly step over my body to attain their own goal, and I'm dying for them," right? Like, so,
Yeah.
it's part of a lot of, like, the deprogramming processes for a lot of people who are now, like, becoming anti-imperialist,
Mhm.
and hence why, like, the song War Pigs, even outside of that realm, is a huge anti-war song. It very much was, like, one of the first early rock and roll songs that was, like, had the Rage Against the Machine, like, "Fuck you, you don't
Mhm.
tell you," "Don't tell you what," whatever the line is, like, "Fuck off, you're the authority, you are evil, you're manipulating me, you're taking from me, you're forcing me to take from others, you're killing my humanity, you're killing other people's humanity," etcetera. And so that, like, War Pigs was kind of like one of the early pioneering songs on the radio that was like that. It was, like, very heavy,
Oh,
ripping
yeah.
guitars and very, like, and again, like, very King Gizzard-esque
Yeah.
now,
Oh
where,
my
like, a lot of
god.
King Gizzard's albums are apocalyptic, like, War Pigs is apocalyptic, right?
And I
So
will
you get
say yeah, sorry, go ahead.
like, what I'm saying is that, you know, like, the current, like, Osborne legacy, I feel like just is being really tainted because of these mixed feelings, and, you know, to circle it back, the song War Pigs, influences so many people in the anti-war space, and
Oh, yeah, I have the
then you
lyrics right
get
here.
exactly.
For those who don't know the song, even the moment you said War Pigs, I was like da 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 da. I was like it got in my
Yeah,
head. The
it's, like,
moment you said it, I was
super
like, oh
fucking
shit.
iconic.
But
I mean, T-Pain
uh-huh.
T-Pain sang it.
Yeah, he did.
T-Pain did a great job singing it too, it was awesome. It was a
T-Pain's an
great performance.
amazing singer, and
He
I
is.
don't know why we don't talk
Very
about that
good.
more. I don't know why we don't talk about it. But, point is,
Yeah.
the lyrics, for those who don't know, is generals gathered in their masses, like witches at black masses, evil minds that plot destruction, sorcerer of death's construction, as the war machine keeps turning death and hatred to mankind, poisoning their brainwashed mind. I skipped a line, but, like,
No, you skipped
yeah,
a few, but it's
I
good. No,
it's crazy
what
how, like,
one of the
anti-war that
most
is.
one of the most iconic moments in my life, iconic memories, um, one of my favorite current rock bands is called, All Them Witches. They're based out of,
Oh, I like that.
Tennessee. Stoner rock, real again, very that you listen to them and you can hear Black Sabbath, like, influence and emulation in their music. They're
Mhm.
fantastic. And the first time I saw them was in downtown LA at the Regent Theater. Fun fact, the Regent Theater used to be a porn theater. So
Fun
these, like, boys would
fact.
go off, jack off. Pretty cool. So we get inside, we see the opening band, Blacklight Holy Water. I always get their name wrong. Holy Water,
Mhm.
Blacklight Holy Water, sorry. Uh, all female metal band, they were phenomenal. Also check them out, highly recommend. Um, but all the witches came up on stage, and so they dimmed the lights, and then they started playing War Pigs.
Oh, fuck.
Um, and then the entire audience, like, imagine an entire, like, sea of people just like,
Mhm.
"Generals gathering in
In
their
their masses.
masses," it was
Ba-da-da.
so just like witches act like masses. It was so everyone was, like, locked in, and,
And I
and all and, like, it also goes back to, like, the passion that you mentioned that earlier, like, with rock and roll,
yeah.
like, at the beginning of the pod, where, you mentioned, like, there's a lot of just, like, declaration,
Yeah.
and I feel like what brought me into rock and roll, what makes rock and roll of that era so enthralling is because of that, like, energy that, at least back then, the bands were really good at being authentic on the recordings
Mhm.
and being authentic live of, like, having that declarative stance of their music and, you know and again, like, when you said that phrase, I immediately thought again of War Pigs, like,
Mhm.
you know, just and again, like, you get like, War Pigs is now so iconic, even though it's a anti-war song, like, they play it during the Super
Yeah.
Bowl, right? You know, they play it on car commercials, it was marching bands play it,
Mhm.
like, or play Iron Man or something, like, I mean, they made a comic after it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say that War Pigs, I looked it up right now while you were dropping all that hot information. War
Mhm.
Pigs was released in 1970,
Yeah, it was one of
And
the earlier
I'm
songs.
just saying that America pulled out of Vietnam in 1973, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, no,
I don't wanna say War
no,
Pig yeah, it was very
and
much
so
yeah.
and so
You see where I'm
again,
going, you
it
see where I'm
goes
going.
back to this song could really be written as a declaration against America's invasion
Mhm,
of Vietnam and, Cambodia and Laos, for that matter, too. People forget we did heinous things there
mhm.
at those countries as well.
Just Google it,
But
y'all. If you don't believe
you
him,
should
please
Google it.
Google.
It's sad and it's fucked up, but it's important. It's important to know.
Yeah.
But like so there's like I feel like there's just a lot of lost authenticity. That song was clearly anti-Vietnam War.
Mhm.
And Sharon is now asking for like, do you know the kneecap incident or the kneecap
No, tell
controversy that's going
me.
on? So Irish uh rap hip hop group Kneecap, they're very anti Queen, anti King, anti royalty, anti Britain. They want unification. They're awesome. They rap in Gaelic. Uh, they're
Wait, the
cool.
fuck? That's so cool.
Yeah, no, they're bringing their mission is like actively side note.
Uh-huh.
Like their mission is actively trying to like preserve like Irish traditional Irish and Gaelic culture away, and then kind of like untarnish what a lot of the Irish had to deal with from the English.
Mhm.
So yeah, so very counter imperialist, really really cool, really good music too. And they spoke out. They're one of the few bands and music collaborations that have been very vocal about the ongoing genocide in Palestine and being very critical and insulting towards Israel. So because of that, they were charged with, like, terrorism charges, I think
Mhm.
in Europe or in Britain, I can't remember where, and they were having their travel visas revoked, and Sharon Osbourne was at the tip of the spear on the news, asking for and so it's like, she was actively, like, going, like, trying to, like, say, like, "No, make sure, like, they should have" like because eventually I think their visas were given back because it was unfounded. But she was still like, "No, like, they have to be punished, and throw them in jail, like, they're terrorists." And again, this is an English woman yelling at Irish
The
women.
terrorists, like, that's not a good look. An English woman yelling at a like,
Yeah.
like like a like a Irish man, like, no, that's not this is
Yeah.
history. Do you know history? No? Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
exactly. No, like, not only is it tone deaf, it's just straight up, like, entitled. So, yeah,
Mhm.
it's just, you know, it's a fascinating aspect that, unfortunately, I feel like, again, it kinda relates to Ozzy, even though, like, again, um he's been linked to have a lot of progressivism throughout his life. Um,
Mhm.
and so, yeah, I mean, it people evolve, I guess. I mean, who knows? Maybe when I'm decrepit, I become like a ultra conservative, gross, disgusting being. But not saying
Mhm.
all conservative beings are disgusting. Many of them are, though.
I
um,
mean, you're I will only say that you are the company you keep, and
yeah.
that's all I'll say. But yeah, no, that is just very funny that I know we're so off topic, but just I've never met like a bad Irish person. They're great.
I know. Same.
That's not like we find out tomorrow. There's like some horrible like dictator that's Irish or something. We're just like, fuck.
No, I
We
mean
gave him our
it's
stamp of
bound.
approval.
There's bound to be
Yeah, no, there
something. I mean,
is.
from what I understand, I think,
Mhm.
like, the phrase, like, "No snakes in" is it "No snakes in Scotland" or "No snakes in Ireland?" I forgot. There was one where, like, the Scots and the Irish were, like, going at it, and one was trying to eradicate the other or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like, ugh, yikes, but yeah.
But yeah, that's a very I had no idea how long this would run. But I appreciated your insight on this
Yeah.
topic simply because I'll reiterate. I come from the perspective of like, oh, not him in the music scene, but him as like a celebrity, like the celebrity of Ozzy Osbourne, the controversy of Ozzy Osbourne, like what drama is going on with the Osbournes, what's going on with his wife, ex-wife, children. So to hear sort of like from a musical perspective
Mm-hmm.
of him, I think is really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember who said this. Someone said this, a guitarist. It's just in my brain. I think they said that like Black Sabbath was like the Beatles of their generation, like their moment was they were compared to the
That
Beatles
is
basically.
that is
Would you say
you
that's
know
like
that
apt or
I
wrong
don't
or?
disagree with that. I don't
Mhm,
necessarily disagree with that. It definitely like in terms of metal for the metal
mhm.
community,
That's probably what
yes.
it was for the metal
Yeah.
community. They're like the
Yeah, for
Beatles
the
of
metal
the.
community, absolutely. Like, people call Ozzy the Prince of Darkness, but he really is the godfather of metal.
Mhm,
There are other bands in the 60s. I used to know them off the top of my head, like where they were like, oh, this is like Genesis of metal. But there were bands in the 60s that definitely had like like they were kind of like the pioneers as well. Like they're
mhm.
definitely part of that era where like metal kind of blossomed from. But
Like,
the delivery
mhm.
of metal to the masses was done by Black Sabbath,
Yeah,
and and their music is so good, it's that timeless, kind of like the Beatles, right? Like,
yeah.
you can be critical. I used to be a Beatles stan, and then I'm not a Beatles stan now, but like you could still be really critical of the Beatles, but like there are still songs that they have written. Even if you get past like Hey Jude, you get past like um Can't Buy Me Love. You get past all the famous songs that like are radio, kind of like your Hotel California with the Beatles, and you
Mhm.
still go into the discography, and there are bangers left and right. Like there are songs that are just like this is great. Like even though it doesn't have the same popularity as those other songs,
Do
and
you wanna
Sabbath
know, I will say I
has
will
the thing.
interject super quickly because before I
Yeah,
forget, do you know the first Beatles song I ever heard?
no.
"I'd like to be under the sea
Oh,
in
Octopus's
an
Garden.
octopus's garden in the
Yeah,
shade."
Octopus's Garden's great.
Which is like
Great song.
it's a nonsensical song, which
It's
I love.
nonsensical.
I love it.
You're just like, "What is going on?" But then you listen to it, like, "This is great."
Yeah, it's
Oh, I love
cute.
Octopus Abbey Road. I love Abbey Road. It's a fantastic album. Okay, anyway,
But back
uh,
to what you were saying before I detracted
no,
everything,
no,
back to what you
you're
were
good.
saying.
No, but, like, Black Sabbath is the same way too, in my opinion. Like, they have to any fan, regardless if you are a diehard metal aficionado, the ins and outs, or you're just like a general rock guy like myself, you're gonna have your favorite songs, but they're gonna be the songs like that are on the radio. Famously Iron Man, right? Everyone knows Iron Man. That's like the Black Sabbath song.
Mhm.
And you got War Pigs, which is also the Black Sabbath song, and then like Paranoid. But then like you go into their discography, and there were a number of songs that are as consistently as good as those three that I mentioned. That they, and I mean this intentionally, rock your socks off. Like
Mhm.
they're great, and they will speak to a multitude of people who enjoy metal,
Yeah.
and
Every time I listen to War Pigs, my socks just dissolve. They dissolve off my body. I have no socks at my house. I can't listen to War Pigs ever again.
I was even listen to it.
So many times.
Indeed.
Mostly because I have Vietnam flashbacks and I can't do what is the other one? Da, 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 the red, white, and blue. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, you can't do a Fortunate Son by
Yeah,
Beatles
fortunate.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's so it's the stereotypical Vietnam song, and I need to switch it up when I think about Vietnam.
I know. Yeah, you listen to you listen to Fortunate Son when you're deployed, and then
Yeah.
you listen to War Pigs when you come back, and you are balancing with the atrocities and the horrors you saw.
Yeah, you gotta mix it up when you're having that
I know.
PTSD that'll never be fully like acknowledged as a serious issue in society.
Exactly.
Yeah, I need things to ponder to. Do you think if we
Yeah.
go to war now, and what's this generation song of that? What are they gonna be listening to? They're gonna be listening to fucking Nelly.
No, they're gonna
what is the
listen to
traumatized song we hear on the plane as we come home? What is that nowadays?
Pink Pony Club.
Pink Pony Club.
You just get off like you get off the
Mhm.
plane, right? Like total American story. You get off the
Mhm.
plane, you get a family warm welcome, Star Spangled Bannered, but your earbuds are in, you're listening to Pink Pony Club because you're secretly closeted and you didn't want to get out, you couldn't come out, so you joined the
Um.
military and
Mhm.
you're just imploding. You're
Mhm.
not revealing your true self, and you come onto this hero's welcome after
Mhm.
experiencing some of the worst atrocities a human being can go through, and all you want to do is just go to the club and shake ass, and you're gonna start crying.
Oh my gosh.
That's the scene. And
That
then, and then a year later, you come on as trans. Ah.
you have a whole you have a whole thing
Yeah,
uh
no, I
here.
mean, I was watching a philosophy tube, and before I forgot her name. Shit. But before she transitioned,
Mhm.
she mentioned how like a lot of people who are in the military are trans
Mhm.
because to kind of they're running away from the inevitable. So they're like, like they're trying to do like hyper masculine things, right? Like um to kind of prove themselves, and then they do it, and then they realize they're still sad, and then they transition, and they're wonderful and happy, and we love them.
Mhm.
So
And we love that for them.
yeah, exactly. So
But I mean, those lyrics are just so like I realize there's like a piece of okay. I don't want to discredit people's intelligence, but there's a lot of people that just take things on face value. And I know I've seen like tweets where they just like, wait, Chaperone's songs are like queer coded. They're like gay, and it's like, yes.
yeah.
The opening line of Pink Pony Club is like, I know you wanted me to stay, but I can't ignore the visions of me in LA. Like, I know you want me to be in this place where you know me and you have comfort in the person you think I am, but I have to leave and go to this beautiful, glittery pink place to become who I really am. Like, it's just so. People joke nowadays that subtlety is dead. And I feel like
Oh
because
no,
of.
it's not.
But I feel like because of that, people are just so much more blatant about what they're saying with their lyrics.
Yeah.
Like, it
And
used to be
I
like
feel like
little hints, but now it's just like, we need to tell you what's happening.
right, and I feel like too, there's just a lot of nuance that that a lot of people just either can't catch or they don't have the patience
Mhm.
or empathy to catch.
Or the time.
So
Like, shit's going on. I don't have time to deconstruct something when I have work tomorrow.
right, yeah, that's exactly it. I just
Which
want to hear the fun song.
like, we tie it back to Black Sabbath. I can do that. The
Yeah,
lyrics of a lot of their songs, as I said, declarative. There's this like poetry to them that is not subtle. It is very flat in your face. This is what's going on. There's
yeah,
of course there's like lyricism to it, like analogies and imagery that are in like all musical lyrics, but like they're not hiding what it's about. A lot of these songs. And
yeah,
mhm.
definitely. I mean, a lot of rock. Oh yeah, a lot of rock is also with the lyrical component. Um, like don't get me wrong, there are a lot of occasions where it is highly poetic, especially like you
Mhm.
listen to Rush, especially Rush's second album Onward, when they got Neil Peart as their lyricist, like very poetic stuff. It's amazing. But a lot of rock is also just, you know, common man, straight talk. Say
Mhm.
it straight. Don't, you know,
Don't say
you
it
know,
gay. Say it straight.
not like that.
I'm
I
glad
hate to say that there is a huge. I hate saying this, but there's a
say
huge
it.
also component of the rock community that is also homophobic and racist. So
Mhm.
it's a shame that we still deal with those things. Like like for the longest time, this harkens back to my take of like rock and roll should have died, and I agree with that because
Mhm.
man, there was some rock that was just not good vibes. Like, why would you go after hip hop and disco? Like, hip hop and disco is great. Leave it alone. It's great. It's fun stuff. Fun time.
Yeah, and like
And that's
one
all.
died, but the other one took over, so you better watch out. We're coming for you,
Yeah.
bitch. But
And
then
then
again,
Treasure Rock did die. So
yeah, and then
yeah.
you know what, Rock, you can make a comeback once rap finally dies, which I don't know if that's anytime incoming, but it will. Just gotta give it time.
I disagree.
Oh,
Um, I think rock and rap can coexist.
oh, you're one of
And
those.
I think there can be a lot of overlap for the communities as well, where a lot of
Hmm.
people, and we're still seeing that ELP of Run the Jewels and ELP Pigs album.
Hmm.
So who knows?
Who
JPEG Mafia was
knows?
sampling some rock music in his.
Oh, I do like JPEG Mafia.
JPEG Mafia.
But but that is, I think we're gonna end here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being my first guest on the last episode ever. I appreciate my first and last guest. And is there any message you want to leave with anybody that might listen to this?
Go with peace, go in love. Life sucks, but you will persevere, and I don't know. I guess if there is anything is not generic that I would say is just, preserve your own humanity and preserve other people's humanity, and the world would be a slightly better place.
Fuck. I was gonna plug all my social media, but I can't after hearing that. I can't do that. That was so sincere and nice. Okay, go become a tier 1 sub on Hasanabi's stream. That's what I'll tell you. No, just kidding. That was for you. That was a plug for you. I don't know why. You insane Hassan heads. I'm more of a cutie Cinderella type of guy. You guys can follow my yeah, she is great. She's like a happier Daria. Anyways, follow my you can follow me on NJG photos on Instagram. And shit, I have to think of something sincere. Hug someone that you hate to confuse them and then screw them over.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.